Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Shri Radhe. Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Gaura Nitai Jaya Gaura Nitai Jaya Gaura Nitai Jaya Gaura Nitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtatarasata Shishimadi Divine Grace Abhayacharnaravindra Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagavan Ki Jai, Kantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhirayet Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 5, The Cause of All Causes, text number 11. Yena Swarochisa Vishvam Yena Swarochisa Vishvam Rochitam Rochayam Yaham Rochitam Rochayam Yaham Yatarko Gnir Yatha Somo Yatarko Gnir Yatha Somo Yatarksha Grahatarakaha Yatarksha grahatarakaha Yena swarochisha vishvam Rochitam rochayam yaham Yatarko gnir yatasomo Yatarksha grahatarakaha Yena swarochisha vishvam Rochitam rochayam yaham Yatarko gnir yatasomo Yatarksha grahatarakaha Yena swarochisha vishvam Rochitam rochayam yaham Agnognir yatasomo Yatarksha grahatarakaha Yena swarochisha vishvam Rochitam rochayamyaham.
When is the 9 years?
You didn't get class. Yataksha grahatarakaha Yena swarochisha vishvam Rochitam rochayamyaham Yatarkognir yatasomo Yataksha grahatarakaha. Word for word, Yena, by whom? Swarochisa, by his own effulgence. Vishvam, all the world. Rochitam, already created potentially. Rochiyami, do manifest. Aham, I. Yata, as much. Arkaha, the sun. Agni, fire. Yata, as. Somaha, the moon. Yata, as also. Riksha, the firmament. Graha, the influential planets. Tarakaha, the stars. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Chanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: I create after the Lord's creation by His personal effulgence, known as the Brahmajyoti. Just as when the sun manifests its fire, the moon, the firmament, the influential planets, and the twinkling stars also manifest their brightness. Purport: Lord Brahmaji said to Narada that his impression that Brahma was not the supreme authority in the creation was correct. Sometimes less intelligent men have the foolish impression that Brahma is the cause of all causes. But Narada wanted to clear the matter by the statements of Brahmaji, the supreme authority in the universe. As the decision of the Supreme Court of a state is final, similarly the judgment of Brahmaji, the supreme authority in the universe, is final in the Vedic process of acquiring knowledge. As we have already affirmed in the previous verse, Naradaji was a liberated soul. Therefore, he was not one of the less intelligent men who accept a false god or gods in their own ways. He represented himself as less intelligent, and yet intelligently presented a doubt to be cleared by the supreme authority, so that the uninformed might take note of it and be rightly informed about the intricacies of the creation and the Creator. In this verse, Brahmaji clears up the wrong impression held by the less intelligent and affirms that he creates the universal variegatedness after the potential creation by the glaring effulgence of Lord Sri Krishna. Brahmaji has also separately given this statement in the Samhita known as the Brahma Samhita, chapter 5, text 40, where he says, Yasya prabha prabhavato jagadanda koti koteshvashesha vasudhati vibhuti bhinnam tad brahma nishkalam anantam ashesha bhutam govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami. I serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose transcendental bodily effulgence known as the Brahma Jyoti, which is unlimited, unfathomed and all-pervasive, is the cause of the creation of unlimited numbers of planets, etc., with varieties of climates and specific conditions of life. The same statement is in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, text 27. Lord Krishna is the background of the Brahma Jyoti, Brahmano hi pratishtaham. In the Nirukti, or Vedic dictionary, the import of pratishta is mentioned as that which establishes. So the Brahma Jyoti is not independent or self-sufficient. Lord Sri Krishna is ultimately the creator of the Brahma Jyoti, mentioned in this verse as Swarochisa, or the effulgence of the transcendental body of the Lord. This Brahma Jyoti is all-pervading, and all creation is made possible by its potential power. Therefore, the Vedic hymns declare that everything that exists is being sustained by the Brahma Jyoti, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. Therefore, the potential seed of all creation is the Brahma Jyoti, and the same Brahma Jyoti, unlimited and unfathomed, is established by the Lord. Therefore, the Lord Sri Krishna is ultimately the supreme cause of all creation, Aham Sarvasya Prabhava. One should not expect the Lord to create like a blacksmith with a hammer and other instruments. The Lord creates by His potencies. He has multifarious potencies, parasya shaktir vividhaiva shruyate. Just as this small seed of a banyan fruit has a potency to create a big banyan tree, the Lord disseminates all varieties of seeds by His potential Brahma Jyoti, Swarochisa, and the seeds are made to develop by the watering process of persons like Brahma. Brahma cannot create the seeds, but he can manifest the seed into a tree, just as a gardener helps plants and orchards to grow by the watering process. The example cited here of the sun is very appropriate. In the material world, the sun is the cause of all illumination, fire, electricity, the rays of the moon, etc. All luminaries in the sky are creations of the sun. The sun is the creation of the Brahma Jyoti, and the Brahma Jyoti is the effulgence of the Lord. Thus, the ultimate cause of creation is the Lord. Translation again. I create after the Lord's creation by the personal effulgence known as the Brahma Jyoti, just as when the sun manifests its fire, the moon, the firmament, the influential planets, and the twinkling stars also manifest their brightness. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasme Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadhati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Naganatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kantha Radha Kantha Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suthe Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarobhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Chalam Pungam Gaite Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Taranam Paramanam Madhavam Shri Chaitanya. Hare Krishna. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class on the very auspicious day of Nirjal Ekadasi. Today is the day where we spend the maximum number of time in thinking of Krishna, not thinking of just prasadam. So our duty today is to utilize our time to the best of our ability in hearing and chanting about Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagavan. Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagavan ki jai. So today's verse, we are talking about how Lord Brahma acknowledges Narad Muni's questions. In fact, he's acknowledging the fact that, yes, you're right, I am not the Supreme. And the evidence or the proof of this is that if you just look around you, just as the sun manifests as fire, the moon, the firmament, the influential planets and the twinkling stars also manifest their brightness. So in other words, without the sun, where is the light of the moon, the firmament, the influential planets, the twinkling stars? Where is their brightness without the sun? So same way, where is Brahma's creation without the basic ingredients given by Lord Krishna? So we have already seen, this chapter is nicely leading up to this point, how the Lord manifests the universe first by expanding himself as Lord Baladev, and then from Lord Baladev, then he expands himself in the Chaturvyuha, and then you get the second Chaturvyuha, and then you get Lord Sankarsana, which then generates Karnadakashayi Vishnu. Karnadakashayi Vishnu then expands into Garbhadakashayi Vishnu. Garbhadakashayi Vishnu then expands into Kshirdakashayi Vishnu. So these three Purusha avatars, also known as the Paramatmas of the material world, they are maintaining and they are producing, creating and destroying the universe. Now it's very interesting. I was just reading when we went for word, this word Rochisa, it's mentioned in three different time frames, or in other words, three different tenses. So it's Rochisa, Rochitam, and Rochayami. So it has happened, it is happening, and it will happen. So in other words, by his effulgence, it is already created potentially, and it will manifest, or does manifest. So you can see the Lord is always in control. And as Prabhupada says at the end of the purport, he's saying that Parasha Shaktir Vividhaiva Shuyate Swabhavik Jnana Bhala Kriya Cha. That the Lord is engaged in the work. How? He's engaged in the work by engaging his energies, his potencies. So he's not in direct contact with material nature. He's in direct contact with his internal potency, but with material nature, he is simply directing through his various potencies. Now, this purport Prabhupada is given is a quite structured purport. The first paragraph Prabhupada talks about how Lord Brahma is the supreme authority and how one should accept knowledge given by the supreme authority through the parampara process. The second one, it talks about how Lord Brahma is clearing up the fact that he is not the creator. Rather, he is just simply using the instruments and the facilities given by the Lord through his Brahma Jyoti in the beginning. And then you have this next verse, next purport, the paragraph in the purport where Prabhupada is clarifying what the Brahma Jyoti is, to inform all of us that actually the Brahma Jyoti is not all in all. The Brahma Jyoti simply rests on Krishna. And finally, Prabhupada talks about how we should not impose our material understanding of how Krishna will create. When we think of creation, Prabhupada says here, like a blacksmith with hammer and other instruments. So we expect the Lord to do something, some work should be done on his part, but actually the Lord really doesn't do anything. He simply engages his energies, simply by willing. Parasya Shaktir Vividhaiva Shuyate Swabhavaki Jnana Bala Kriya Cha. He simply engages these potencies in performing the activities, and he has pretty much nothing to do. So in that sense, we can understand how the Lord is, everything manifests from him, but it doesn't really, he's not them, he's not there. So we'll go step by step through the purport. The first section of this purport, as I mentioned before, is that Prabhupada's clarifying that Brahma is not the cause of all causes, and Narad Muni did the right thing in presenting himself as less intelligent, but intelligently asking a question. Very interesting the way Prabhupada says this. He represented himself as less intelligent, and yet intelligently presented a doubt to be cleared by the Supreme Authority, so that the uninformed might take note of it and be rightly informed about the intricacies of creation and the Creator. So this section of Bhagavatam, it's important to understand the nature of creation and who did what and where it's coming from, because then we can understand the potency and the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because to be able to understand, say for example, I remember when I first came to Krishna consciousness, this example really struck me. if you think about it, to be able to understand or comprehend something beyond your understanding or current perception, it is very difficult on your own. To be able to understand something, you need to be able to use something within your perception and then extrapolate according to logic and reason. So yesterday Nityananda Pran Prabhu was reading how Prabhupada talks in the purport, how the frog in the well, trying to speculate and understand the size of the ocean, simply bursts in the process by trying to expand himself to be able to see this. So similarly for us to be able to understand the inconceivable by extrapolating what we see, it is it's close to impossible, practically impossible, because Krishna is Adhokshaja. It is impossible. But you see, by the via medium of the Guru Parampara, they use that same technique to be able to help us understand what the Supreme Personality of Godhead is. So the example I was going to mention was that if a prisoner is stuck in prison, and he's been stuck there for majority of his life, and we all know, we've seen movies, we've heard stories, that when you see prisoners come out of prison, most of them have the issue of how they reintegrate into society. That is the biggest thing for them. And it's so much fear that sometimes they decide to just commit a crime just so they can go back to jail, because they're more convenient for them in jail than to be able to live in the outside world, because things change. So for such a prisoner who hasn't seen the world outside, to be able to explain what the world outside is like, you need to be able to use what's within his perception to be able to give him some understanding. Now the difference is that materialists, they will use this to say that this is all in all. So in the case of the prisoner, when someone comes and visits and asks him, or he asks him, what is it like in the world outside? So then the person will look around and say, well, it's bigger than this room. How much bigger than this room? It's many, many millions of times bigger than this room. There's no bars out there. You can actually see what's happening. You're free to walk around and do what you like. So all of these are given as examples. Now, the materialistic way of thinking is that that's all in all. My understanding, my perception, I will extrapolate, and then whatever I get from this extrapolation or this speculation, then that is the truth. But the problem with that is that it's relative truth, because each prisoner, each person, each individual will have a different understanding, a different perception. So the way of understanding of everyone is different. Therefore, we require guidance. Therefore, we require someone who can be able to use this technique like a doctor in a proper prescribed method. So the spiritual master will then give this example appropriately. How will they give appropriately? The example is here given of the sun. The sun is so powerful, the sun example is such a powerful example, it is given in so many difficult situations to understand Krishna's energies and how he operates with them. For example, one understanding of the sun is that to understand Paramatma is the same Paramatma in everyone's heart, exists everywhere. The example of the sun is given. Just as one will walk on this globe and the midday and look up and see the sun there, everyone else on the globe will also look up and see the sun there. It's the same one sun, but everyone's seeing the same person. Another example is given when you see the reflection in the pots of water. It's that one sun reflected in many pots of water. So this example is given within our realm of perception. It is a technique used to be able to give us some conviction, some faith, some understanding by which we can invest our senses in the process. Because once we engage and we understand, oh, okay, so it makes sense. So philosophy is like this, and this is how you can practically see it and understand, so I can understand this philosophy. So then what happens is that you develop the faith, you develop more and more trust and conviction in the process. And by investing more and more faith, what happens? You invest more and more energy. You increase the Krishna content in your life, and naturally all the unwanted anarthas in your life, the unwanted things, they all disappear. And gradually you become just full of Krishna. So it is a simple method used very powerfully by our spiritual masters and acharyas, especially by Srila Prabhupada, in teaching us the nature or the subject matter of spirituality, which we have forgotten and beyond our senses. So therefore, Narada Muni, Prabhupada dedicates this particular section, and you see Prabhupada will dedicate a lot of time on this. The mood of which one approaches the spiritual master and the authority and the mood in which the spiritual master will give the instructions and guidance. So here, Brahma wasn't so puffed up and proud enough to say that actually, yeah, these things existed there, but I'm the creator. Brahma, in a true humility, in understanding his position, his real constitutional position as a servant of the Lord, is mentioning to Narada that actually you're correct. I'm not the supreme authority. There's someone higher than me. But what he is saying is that how this person is higher than me, how is this creation happening? And he's giving the details to Narad Muni. Because Lord Brahma can just say, yeah, look, Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead ki jai, and then move on, But Narad Muni has asked all these questions in detail for us to be able to understand. Nityananda Pran Prabhu mentioned another interesting point yesterday, was that the pure devotees, just like the mother-in-law will chastise the daughter to teach the daughter-in-law, the pure devotees, the Lord will put the pure devotees in such a situation because they can relate with the Lord in all circumstances and never lose their connection with the Lord, so that they can teach the living entities. So Narad Muni was put on the spot, and he was asking, as a conditioned, ignorant soul, if Brahma was the supreme. In fact, he glorifies Brahma as the supreme, and then says, wait, actually, you're not really the supreme because you're meditating on something. Even you have to perform austerities. How can you be the supreme if you have to perform austerities? That means you're appropriating somebody. That means you're seeking the blessings and the mercy of somebody else. And not only that, he asks, what about this creation? Under whose protection are you standing? Under whom you're working? What is your real position? Do you create all the entities within the material elements by your personal energy? And he asks question, let's see if I can find it. My dear father, please describe factually the symptoms of this manifested world. What is its background? How is it created? How is it conserved? Under whose control is this all being done? So he's not letting his father, Lord Brahma, go. That simply you tell me that you are not the creator, or you are the... If you are the creator, explain it, how it works. If you're not the creator, who's doing it? Who's behind you? How are they making it work? So this is important for us to understand. Brahma is not all in all. Brahma is, although Swayambhuv, Aja, although he is unborn because he doesn't have a father or mother, still he's born from the lotus. That means he is generated by Garbhadakashaya Vishnu. So there is a source for Lord Brahma. Nowadays this doesn't even apply to Kali Yuga society, where people think that, Prabhupada says here, sometimes less intelligent men have foolish impression that Brahma is the cause of all causes. If Prabhupada is saying this is the standard of less intelligent men, then you can understand the standard of people in this day and age, where they think they themselves are God, when they can't even create something small, and they need the help of another person. So Prabhupada is mentioning a certain class of people. They are less intelligent, and their foolish impression is that Brahma is the cause of all causes. This impression comes about due to kama taste hita jnana. So it's all due to lust. It is simply due to a lust of wanting to enjoy that they appropriate Brahma and other demigods, and they lose their intelligence in this process, and they appropriate such demigods, not understanding that they are just simply representatives of Krishna. In fact, for them, this is the interesting thing. You will go through all the difficulties and processes of performing the yajna to satisfy the demigod, but the demigods then have to get permission from Krishna to be able to give you what you need. So they themselves are not independent. They need to follow the process in which they can bless or give benedictions to their worshippers. In fact, unless the worship is done properly and correctly, they cannot give of their own accord. They're bound by a contract. Unless you satisfy the requirements of that contract, you cannot get what you want. So the demigods themselves, how can they be the supreme then? That unless you perform this sacrifice in this way, then only I can give benediction, means that there's a limitation there. And that limitation is put there by Krishna because they're simply under the jurisdiction of Krishna's orders. You will read in 5th canto how it's mentioned that the sun, the moon, the planets, they're all just simply moving around by the out of fear of Krishna. They're simply in their orbits, and they're moving around simply out of fear of the Supreme. So they don't do anything outside of their jurisdiction, outside of Krishna's jurisdiction. So here, another point to be mentioned here is that, okay, so Brahma is not the supreme. Brahma is showing the proper attitude and qualifications of a teacher. And on the other side, we have Narad Muni, who is a liberated soul, and he is asking a question for the benefit of others. And at the same time, there's a second point Nityananda Prabhu mentioned, that just as the pure devotees ask on behalf of the other living entities for their benefit, by doing so, they also benefit the living entities. Then they start feeling that, oh, it's not just me who has this question. I'm not the only one. Because Maya is very, very expert at doing this. Maya is very expert at singling you out and isolating you, making you think that, oh, I'm the only one going through this. It's only me. It's only happening to me. No one else will be able to understand what I'm going through. Or is it just me, like that? So you have to understand that Maya is working in such a way. So Maya is working in such a way that she's already infiltrated, as Krishna says. She's all lust, in the form of lust, she's already infiltrated. Does anyone remember in Bhagavad Gita where she's infiltrated? How she has come in? Yeah, through the senses. The next to the senses is the mind, one of the senses, and then the mind to the intelligence. And what is the next door neighbor to the intelligence? Us, the soul. And we rely on that intelligence to be able to perform our activities in this world and simply fall down into the pit of illusion again. So Maya comes in through there and she whispers in your ear in such preposterous ideas, such, I guess, illusory thoughts that will influence you to go away from Krishna. So Narad Muni is then now clarifying that actually you're not the only person who has these questions. Even Narad Muni is clarifying it. The pure devotees are clarifying it for you, and it's our duty to take shelter of this wonderful king of all Shastra, Srimad Bhagavatam, to be able to clarify and get rid of all these doubts within our consciousness and take shelter of the cause of all causes, Shri Radha Gopinath, Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagavan Ki Jai. So that's to close that loop. Finally, Prabhupada mentions is that Lord Brahma is a supreme authority in this universe. So Prabhupada's taking the effort to tell you, if you can all remember back, that there are 4 defects we have. We have the tendency to be illusioned, we have the tendency to be cheated, and we like to cheat others. Our senses are imperfect and we make mistakes. So these 4 things means that we cannot produce truth, absolute truth. Neither can we individually or on our own endeavor transmit or give it to others. So therefore we take shelter of someone who is free from these 4 defects. Ultimately Krishna is free from these 4 defects. By giving the knowledge on how to be free from the defects, Lord Brahma is propagating this knowledge as it is, as given by Lord Krishna. And through the Guru Parampara, it's coming down to Srila Prabhupada, and now we are receiving it as well. And Prabhupada says many times, I am not perfect, but by simply repeating the words of the perfect, then that is my perfection. So Prabhupada people would always glorify him, and he would say that actually his perfection is just simply, I've given this message without adding or subtracting. As Prabhupada mentions in the previous verse. Simply without adding and subtracting, has given it as it has been received. So Prabhupada makes that point here, that if you want something final in the Vedic process of acquiring knowledge, you need to approach that person who simply represents the Vedas and Vedic knowledge as it is. And to be able to understand that, it requires you to be able to read, to be able to understand some of the Vedic literatures, because it goes hand in hand. What the spiritual master says is the Vedas, and what the Vedas say is simply what the spiritual master speaks. And this is our process. Guru Sadhu Sastra Chitete Kore Aikya. I think it's mentioned by Narottam Das Thakur. These 3, this is our framework in understanding Vedic knowledge. Okay, so that's the first paragraph. I'll quickly go through the rest. The second paragraph talks about how Lord Brahma is clearing up the wrong impression held by the less intelligent, and affirms that he creates the universal variegatedness after the potential creation of the glaring effulgence of Lord Shri Krishna. So the way it works is that the Supreme Lord manifests his effulgence, and it's from this effulgence that the material world is manifested. The ingredients of this material world, beginning with Mahatattva, and then Pradhana, and then the manifestation of the 3 modes, and then you have the Panchabhuta, Bhumi Apo Nalo Vayor Kam Mano Buddhi Revacha, then the subtle, and then you have the senses, and then the controller of the senses, and so on and so forth. And that's how it's propagated or expanded from the Brahma Jyoti. And Prabhupada quotes another section where Brahma is mentioning the same thing, that he worships Govinda, whose transcendental bodily effulgence, the Brahma Jyoti, is the cause of creation of unlimited number of planets. So Brahma, being the first living entity, should have an idea of how it works, because he is the one who engineers or is the secondary creator of this universe. So he understands, by the mercy of the Lord, as we'll continue reading and understanding, he will explain how the Lord manifested to him, and how he was able to understand this knowledge, and how this universe was created, and how he gets the potency to create. So now this Brahma Jyoti, Prabhupada then clarifies, it is not the Brahma Jyoti that's supreme. So we're going backwards here. Narad Muni is asking Brahma. Brahma is saying actually it's the Brahma Jyoti, but that Brahma Jyoti comes from Krishna. So Brahma is giving details. And if you give the details, it's very easy for us to be absorbed and understand that, okay, there's a process that's happening, and to be able to understand how to link it back to Krishna. Because it's by these details, then we can naturally become more and more inquisitive, we can contemplate more on this subject matter. And that's the essence of Krishna consciousness, to be able to hear, chant and remember about Vishnu, Krishna. So here, Brahmana Pratishtaham. Pratishtaham means that one which establishes, Krishna's establishing the Brahma Jyoti. In other words, Prabhupada says, it is the Brahma Jyoti that rests on Krishna's lotus feet. It is not the other way around. Only foolish people think that the Brahma Jyoti has somehow or other taken a material form known as Krishna. That is the Mayavad philosophy, which is wrong. It is actually that Lord Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan, Janmadi Yasyataha, from him everything emanates. So it is from him the Brahma Jyoti has come. And it is mentioned that the sun's effulgence is just a fraction of the effulgence that emanates from the toenail of Krishna. And Krishna, out of his mercy, knowing the material world to be completely full of darkness, has imbued the sun planet with this potency, which is the Brahma Jyoti, to be able to give the living entities an opportunity to get out of this darkness. In the same way that he gave the knowledge to Lord Brahma after he had performed tapasya. So Lord Brahma, he came from the flower, he didn't know what he was doing, where he was, went up and down, didn't know what to do, performed tapasya, and then he was able to see the Supreme Lord. Similarly, by the manifestation of the Lord within his heart, and the instructions from there as well. Similarly, the Lord wanted to give all living entities the opportunity to perform their work to such an extent that they'll surrender unto him and go back to Godhead. So he manifests light in this world in such a way. So you can see, to be able to perform any activities with our senses, we need the help of the demigods. And the demigods, they're not independent, they're completely dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead to do it. How? We see in the previous chapters how the Virat Purusha, the Virat Rupa, and you'll see further on, it will be again explained, how when the Virat Rupa desired to see, then the principle of seeing, the sun planet, the demigod behind it, and the organ and form, these things were manifested. So everything is dependent on the Supreme Lord's will. So the Brahma Jyoti is just simply resting on the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Therefore, this aphorism that Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma, that everything is resting on Brahma, everything comes from Brahma, is the understanding that this whole material universe emanates from the Brahma Jyoti. The Brahma Jyoti is the seed, or rather the seed of creation comes from the Brahma Jyoti. Just as the banyan tree has many seeds within the fruit, and by sowing the seed from that fruit, another banyan tree comes. Similarly, it's from the Brahma Jyoti that all these planets and universes have emanated. But this Brahma Jyoti comes from Krishna. And then finally, Prabhupada talks about the nature of the Lord's creation. How does he create? Does he create like Lord Brahma? Does he have to sit in meditation and then think about creation and somehow or other manifest the universe? No, Krishna doesn't have to do anything like that. Krishna simply plays his flute and he enjoys with the Brajavasis. Krishna does have nothing to do with material nature. Is that correct? No. Krishna creates simply through his energies and potencies. He simply desires. That's all he has to do. He hasn't to do anything physically or spiritually in that sense through his senses. The potency is simply manifest. Prabhupada mentions this many in Bhagavad Gita, that through the natural sequence of the material and spiritual energies, Krishna manifests this world. But is it because of Krishna that this world is manifest? Yes. But Krishna's aloof, because it's not actually his desire. He's just fulfilling the desire of the conditioned souls to want to be separate from him and enjoy separately from him. So it is not that Krishna desired the material universe to be created, although at the same time only by his desire it becomes created. It is actually being instigated by the desire of the living entities who want to be separate from Krishna. And therefore this material universe is manifested for their rectification of going back to Godhead with the proper consciousness. But Krishna still remains to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because even if the living entity desires, it is really up to Krishna whether he wants to manifest the material world or not. So in this intricate way, you can understand that Krishna remains aloof, because actually it is he doesn't have to reap any benefit, any reaction from his actions, because he is completely self-sufficient, self-satisfied. But at the same time, to satisfy the conditioned living entity's desire to enjoy separately from him, he manifests this universe. But he remains aloof, because it's not in relation to his particular enjoyment or desires, but he's able to enjoy it as well. That's the nature of Krishna. So, Parasya Shaktir Vividhai Vashuyate. And finally, Prabhupada refers to the example of the sun, that the sun is the cause of all illumination. So everything is manifested from the sun's illumination. Similarly, everything we see simply expands from Lord Krishna. And therefore, the ultimate creation is, or the cause of creation is the Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And then he will then offer obeisances to who? That Supreme Personality of Godhead, and describe him, to understand more about who that person behind the creation is, behind Brahma's creation is. And in such a way, we will be able to understand the nature of creation, the creator, and understand the position we're in, and in such a way be able to get out of this material world. Because two things you have to understand Maya's potency. Does anyone remember the two particular activities or potencies of Maya? Yeah. Yeah, avaratmika and pakshamatmika. That to cover the original identity or the knowledge of the living entity of his identity as being part and parcel of Krishna, servant of Krishna, and to pull him down. I once heard an explanation that is kind of like, when the mafia come and they want to take somebody, what they do is that they grab the person, beat him up, cover his head, and then take him somewhere. And so he doesn't know where he is and he doesn't know how to get back. So Maya works in a similar way. Actually, they took it from Maya. Maya works in that way. She covers the intelligence and the knowledge of the living entity, but that's not enough. She pulls the living entity in such a way that he takes birth thinking that, okay, I am the cause of all this exists, and by my actions I'll be able to generate the proper results of generate the results which I want to enjoy. And in such a way, she makes the living entity not only forget his original consciousness, but start thinking otherwise, that he is the material body. And in that way, in her two-step process, she makes the living entity forget how he entered the material universe and how to go back to Godhead. So by this process of understanding the creation, the creator, and how we're stuck here, we can understand how to get out as well, by the mercy of the spiritual master. So this section of Srimad Bhagavatam is very important for us to understand and to meditate on as well, because not only do the devotees care about the confidential pastimes of the Lord in Vrindavan Dham, it is the same as Krishna speaking on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. There is no difference, because it is coming from the Supreme Lord and in his relation with Krishna. Similarly, the living entities, they also take shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam and this explanation of the cosmic manifestation. Last point is that Sanatana Goswami mentions that every single syllable or word of Srimad Bhagavatam is imbued with Krishna Prem. You cannot think otherwise. So by simply reading Srimad Bhagavatam, we can attain the highest perfection that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to give, and that is pure love of Godhead in the mood of the Brajavasis, given by the instructions of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, so I'll end here. Are there any questions, comments? Yeah.
Regarding the Brahmajyoti, whether it is Krishna or it is an energy of Krishna.
It's mentioned to be the effulgence of Krishna.
It is, can we consider it's like the Vishnu Tattva or like Shakti Tattva?
The Brahma Jyoti is a Vishnu or Shakti. It would be in the Shakti category. It's not directly Krishna. But at the same time, it's considered to be part of the absolute truth. Right? What is that verse? Vadanti tat vidas tatvam yad jnanam advayam mameti paramatmeti bhagavan iti sabjate. So actually it's not Shakti Tattva, it's within the category of Bhagavan, but it's just an aspect of the Lord. Brahmajyoti is non-different from the Lord, but at the same time it rests at His lotus feet. Achintya Beda Beda Tattva is there involved. Okay? I wouldn't consider it to be unless someone wants to correct me, I wouldn't consider it to be a Shakti of the Lord. Because of the absolute truth, to be able to, one of the perceptions of the absolute truth himself is understanding him as Brahman, Paramatma, and then Bhagavan. It's just a varying degree of understanding. Does anyone else like to comment, mention anything? No? Okay, so that's the answer I would give in terms, quoting Vedanti Tattva Vidas. But you can't separate the Brahmajyoti from the Lord though, because it is his effulgence. When he performed activities in this material world, when he killed the Aghasura, it's mentioned that Aghasura's soul merged into the effulgence of the Lord. So it's always there with the Lord. It's an aspect of Krishna, but it's not the complete understanding of Krishna like that. Anything else? Okay, thank you very much for listening. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagavan ki jai, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Pandava Nirjala Kadasi ki jai, Nithai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo.